one of your professor to me. What kind of person is he or she? What do you like or dislike about him or her?
Yes, I would like to explain one of my professors in my college in San Diego. Dr. Brown was a professor of literature, and it was his responsibility to teach us about many types of books and how to analyze books. So he assigned to us about 250 pages a week to read, which was a lot of reading. But as a result, we learned a lot about different authors. Excuse me, did I say 250 pages a week? 250 pages a night we had to read. And we were very tired, but I think he was one of the professors I respected the most because he was very strict, but also very fair.
You indicated in the survey that you go to school. What kind of courses are you taking or had you taken in the past? Please describe the classes you are taking or have taken as much as detail as possible.
Yes. Well, as you know, I'm now a lawyer, and so most of my classes have been for the preparation of law, and that would include pre-law, which is political science, and learning about basic laws of the land, including even studying about the process of local, state, and federal government. And then after I finished my undergraduate program, I entered a law school where I learned classes such as criminal law or torts or contracts. And I'm actually still continuing to take classes to improve my technique, such as learning civil procedure and learning about the criminal code.
Tell me about the last classes you do. Why did you choose them? What did you do in those classes?
Yes, the last classes I took were last year, and those classes were focusing on biochemistry. And when I say biochemistry, I mean that everything that is included in biochemistry, everything that is taken before biochemistry, and that everything that biochemistry is applied to. So I found that this is one of my most difficult classes, trying to understand interactions in body systems. And it's not only memorization, it is trying to put it all together to understand what is happening in a patient's body so that you can then think about the pharmacology, what type of medicines you want to give to a patient. But understanding the basic pharmacology is really basic to all medicine.
I'd like to know what your school looks like. Please describe your school for me in as much detail as possible.
Yes. Well, my school is in the center of the Atlantic Ocean, in an island surrounded by sharks and submarines for protection. Our school is staffed by 150 professors, and we have 14,000 students who are all focused on passing the national exam, which is given every year. And we find that living on the campus is a very enjoyable experience, particularly because of the hula dancers.
I would like to know about something memorable that happened to you in one of your classes. What kind of interesting episodes do you have? Please tell me about one from the beginning to the end.
Yes. Well, many interesting things happen in our class. As you know, I'm learning to be a zookeeper, and zookeepers have to understand many types of animals. And living next to the zoo was one of the requirements for our classrooms. And unfortunately, on one of the days, there was an earthquake, and all of the gates of the animals opened, and the animals ran into our class. So we had zebras and elephants and orangutans and snakes and even some fish that fell out of the aquarium. And so we had to put them all back in a hurry, which was a very scary situation, but we were able to do it without any problems at all.
You indicated that you have school experience. Have you ever missed a test or important assignment because you were not feeling well? Can you tell me what exactly happened? Please make sure to mention how it turned out in the end.
Yes, we have many tests in our program, and I actually have missed a few tests due to sickness. Well, actually, I wasn't really sick. I just didn't want to take the test. So I called the school and said, I feel sick today, and they gave me an extension on my test. And as a result, I could study more, and then I passed. So I think that's a good strategy. If ever you feel like you don't want to take a test, just say you feel sick.
Have you ever been in a situation in which you wanted to take a class but faced some difficulties? Tell me what happened. How did you resolve the problem?
Yes, there was a statistics class that I wanted to take in college, and it was a very difficult test, and there was a requirement for that test. In order to enter that statistics class, you have to pass Algebra 2 and trigonometry. But I had not passed those exams. So the only way I could pass those exams was to ask a tutor to help me pass the exams. So I went to the tutor every week for 2 years, and he helped me to pass those exams. And then I was able to enter the statistics class. But unfortunately, the deadline had passed, so I couldn't enter it.
I'd like to hear about your normal school day. What do you do when you don't have classes? Where do you usually study? Tell me as much as you can.
Yes, my typical day starts at 5 a.m. I wake up and arrive on the campus and say hello to the security guard. Then I have breakfast in the cafeteria. Then I take a nap. And then my classes start, and we have typically 2-hour lectures for most of the day. And around 9 p.m., we then go to the library where we would continue to read books and prepare for the next day. Sometimes I sleep in the library because I'm exhausted, but our typical day is something like that.
How do you get to school? Is that the quickest way? Why did you choose that model of transportation?
Yes, well, there are many ways for me to get to school. Usually I walk. Sometimes I take a skateboard, but I've had a few accidents on my skateboard. So recently I have been going to school with a tricycle. A tricycle is very convenient because you have 3 wheels, and tricycles are more stable than bicycles. So in our part of Tokyo, there are quite a few people that go to work with a tricycle. And I think that that's probably the best way for me to go to work.
Tell me how you get from your house to school every day. Also tell me how long it takes you to get to school on normal weekday.
Yes, from my house to school, I usually take the train. The first trains start at 5 a.m. in the morning. I walk from my house to the station, which takes about 5 minutes. Then I get on the red line and I take the 5:30 train. Then I change to the blue line, and that takes about another hour. and then after I've arrived, I have to take a bus, and that bus takes 7 hours.
You suddenly become ill and aren't able to take an exam. Call the professor, leave a message explaining your situation, and then offer 2 or 3 alternatives to taking the exam today.
Yes. Hello, Professor Brown. This is Simon Downs in your mathematics class. I'm calling today because I'm feeling quite sick. Since last night, I have had a stomach ache and I have been throwing up. So I'm sorry to say that I will not be able to take your test today. I would like to offer some alternatives to taking the test. I hope that you will offer them. For example, I could come to take the test next month, or I could take the test next year, or I could take the test in 5 years' time. Please tell me which one of these options suits you best. Thank you very much.
Describe your first visit to your school. When was it and when was your first impression about the school?
I remember my first visit to my school very clearly. It was a sunny day, and I was arriving at my school with all of my classmates. But I was very shocked to find that the school was very dirty indeed. And I turned to my classmate and I said, "Wow, look at this school, it's so dirty." But actually, it wasn't my classmate. It was one of the students of the school, so I was quite embarrassed. That's a day that I remember very clearly, but it's interesting that actually I came to like that school the most.
You indicated in the survey that you were a college student. I just assume that you have classes you like and classes you don't like. Compare one class. You have liked a lot of a class. You have not liked. Describe what you liked about the one and what you don't like about the other.
Yes. I will tell you about 2 classes and compare them. The first is art history, and the second is biology. I liked biology much more than art history. Some people think that art history is an easy class, but actually art history is not an easy class. It takes a lot of dedication and a lot of planning time. Biology is also difficult, but I found that it was quite easy to understand. So as a result, I was able to focus on biology, and art history was a class that I preferred to avoid. Finally, both classes, unfortunately, I failed. I had to retake them both, and I got a D.
Tell me about school project that you recently worked on. What were the steps you took in order to begin working on it and finish the project?
Yes, I will tell you about one of the projects I worked on. I was asked by my professor to design a sculpture using some plexiglass. It was a project that was to take 2 months, but because I am quite good with my hands, I finished the project in about a week, and I presented this sculpture to my boss. Was not my boss, excuse me, he was my teacher. And he said it was probably the worst sculpture he's ever seen in his life, and I got an F on the project.
Tell me how you learn to use that particular piece of technology. Who taught you to use it? Tell me everything you did from beginning to end to learn how to use that technology.
Yes, the technology I would like to talk about is this smartphone. When I first received this smartphone from my boss, I was asked to use it in my company for my projects, but it was totally confusing and I didn't understand how to use it. So I had to read the manual in Japanese using a dictionary, and then I went to a school that showed me how to use the device step by step, and as a result I was able to use it, and now I feel very confident using my smartphone for my business projects.
Think of a project that you once worked on, where technology made a big difference. Describe that project in detail. What kind of technology do you use? What role did the technology play?
Yes. Well, there have been many projects that I've had to work on that require technology, but the most recent project that required technology was making a cake. Now, to make a cake, you can use your hands to mix all the ingredients together. But I was told that if I used an electronic mixer, I could save time, and also my mix would be a much better texture and a better consistency to make my cake. So I was given this mixer, and I put all the ingredients into the mixer, and I turned it on. But unfortunately, the power setting was too strong, and all of the mix went on the floor. This was very disappointing. So I picked it up off the floor and put it back into the mixer, and I was successfully changed the setting, made the cake, but nobody wanted to eat the cake because they said it was dirty.
Tell me about the specific orientation you received as a freshman. What kinds of activities took place in the session?
Yes, when we were freshmen, we all had to learn together from step one, for example, how to enter the building, how to ask for your ID, how to touch the ID onto the electronic or laser signal to enter, how to use the elevators, how to go to the cafeteria, how to use the telephones. It took about 2 weeks for orientation, but as a result, we all had no problems orienting ourselves to the work environment and settling into our work.
Tell me about the class that you signed up for but later decided to drop or thought about dropping. What was the reason? How did it turn out?
Yes, well, we have many classes available in our company, and recently I signed up for a Chinese class. But when I went to the Chinese class the first day, it was advanced Chinese, and I thought the level was much too difficult for me, so as a result, I immediately dropped the class. It was a good experience for me because to enter the class you have to pay about $200, but because I dropped the class in time, they only took $195.